Kasi dito ma'am, mga commuters natin talagang hindi ko na rin masabing kasi talagang pagka totally nagmamadali, hindi na rin natin mapigilan yung tao. O talagang sasakay at sasakay na rin yan. Hindi na rin siguro mapapansin ng driver yan kung nakaano yan o ano. Talagang mahirapan din po tayo. Siguro paalala rin po tayo sa lahat ng natin before yung driver po natin, mapagsabihan na rin po na before isuot na rin po yung vaccination.
The Health Department reports around 37,000 new COVID-19 cases today. Out of the 77,400 tests conducted, 46% were positive. Johns Hopkins University sees the likelihood of other COVID-19 variants in the future as the world continues to combat the Omicron variant.
We can say with pretty good certainty that there will be more variants coming down the pipeline. If we could handle Omicron, which in many ways when it comes to hospitalizations and the rates of hospitalizations we probably are going to be in a good place to be able to deal with other surges and be able to limit them in the future.
Metro Manila continues to log record-high COVID-19 cases as the Department of Health says more than 1 million NCR residents have tested positive for COVID-19. How can government lower the positivity rate? We discuss in this episode of The Chiefs. Welcome to this Monday edition of The Chiefs. I'm Ed Lingao. Also with us, Ana Marie Pamiton of the Philippine Star, Lucy Cruz Valdez, the head of News 5, and Robbie Lampay of One News. Ladies and Robbie, well, happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
Happy top of the week.
Top of the week. Ami, what's your, should I ask you what your top story is, or we already know what the top story is?
Hindi na. Hindi, mag-umpis. Bago tayo mag-politics, yung guest natin. Mag-uumpisa na daw bukas yung mga penalties na magbabiolate ng no right.
No vax, no right.
10,000
sa driver, no?
So, medyo naparisahan ng iba ngayon, pinauwi sila. Karugsa na sa kanila yun.
Yeah. But as we saw in the stories today, generated by TV5, for example, it's really hard to enforce.
Mahirap pala. Magsakay pa lang sa jeep, tingnan mo, sasakay sa jeep mo
yung driver nagbibilang ng pasahero, nagkakalkula kung magkano si pasahero A, pasahero B, pasahero C, tapos pati vaccination card hihingin niya. Parang
kanina nga binarita natin sa Victory, pati sa News 5 na yung isang driver nga sinasabi niya sa totoo lang kine-check ko na lang yung vaccine card pagka alam kung meron mag-check. Pero otherwise wala. He's more preoccupied with keeping to the maximum capacity.
Parang di ba, yung mga jeepney driver natin, ang gagaling na mathematician, siguro dapat sa NEDA ipasok yung mga yan
Tanungin natin.
Multitasker talaga. Likas na multitaskers.
Pero tanungin natin ating law enforcer yung ating tanungin natin kung anong gagawin.
Ayan ang segue ni Ami. Lunes nga.
Hindi politics agad, hindi politics agad.
Okay, with Ami's segue, then we go to our first guest for tonight. We begin tonight with Senator and Presidential Candidate Ping Lacson Jr. of Partido Reforma. Sir, magandang gabi for joining us and welcome back to the Chiefs.
Yes, maraming salamat sa pag-imbita ulit. Ed, mga Chiefs, magandang gabi sa atin lahat.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Senator.
Yes, sir. Sir, let me start off with this. You tested positive, I think, January 7. Kamusta po kayo muna? Unang-una, kamusta kayo? I understand you're back at work already, pero how was it for you?
January 4 actually, yung test na RT-PCR. Pero it wasn't until after 50 hours bago nakuha yung resulta.
Ayun lang.
So I had to retest. Kumuha pa ako uli ng panibago mag-test. Halos sabay naman dumating. So parehong positive. So talagang positive. So okay na, nakapag-antigen na at fully recovered. In fact, naka-attend ako ng session kanina. Ngayon, nasa Senate nga ako kasi hindi na ako umalis for this interview.
So isa kayo sa mga na-delay ang results kasi gano'n na nangyari nung itong nakaraang ilang linggo, no? Tagal lumabas mga results.
Okay lang. Ang hinihintay ko lang yung sabihan kung bakit mayroong delay. Kasi ang naging worry ko, baka nawala yung samples namin ni Mrs. Kasi sabay kami nag-test, wala man lang pasabi. So minabuti ko, sabi ko kumuha ulit tayo ng magte-test. At saka alam mo, Ami, Luchi, di ba parang contract yan eh. Nagbayad ka ng home service, mas mahal. Dapat naman, may obligation naman sila na pag sinabing 8 to 12 hours, kung hindi man ma-comply, sabihin naman kami na pasensya na kayo, mahaba yung backlog, so maghintay lang kayo ng konti. Yun.
Oo nga pala, home service. Ang mahal pa naman nun.
Sir, kung mawawala ang samples ninyo, nakakatakot naman yun. Paano naman kami kung kayo mawawala ng samples? Paano yung ordinaryong tao?
Ano lang yun, it just occurred to me na baka yun, kasi walang balita eh. So kaya nga ang ginawa ko, tumawag ulit ako ng ibang magsuswab. So nag-double yung swab ko. Sabay dumating nga, actually yung pangalawa, sabay dumating, mabilis yung pangalawa. Sabay dumating doon sa una.
Senator, speaking po of ordinaryong tao, ano pong tingin niyo dito sa no vax, no ride policy?
Unang-una, ang tanungin muna natin, sufficient ba yung mga doses? Kasi nasa mga 50+%, sabi nila naka-herd immunity kasi 70% of the adult population, di ba? So kung hindi sapat even for the willing, parang unfair yata na hindi mo papasakayin, hindi pwede mag-commute, pero wala naman palang available na vaccines, enough vaccines, yung gobyerno. So at the end of the day, kung mayroong magkukwestiyon ito, Supreme Court lang naman ang pwedeng maggawa ng ruling dito kasi nga may legal na issue rito involved. Kasi while ang pinoprotektahan siyempre yung karamihan dahil walang protection yung unvaccinated, pero just the same, paano naman yung kabuhayan ang gusto magpabakuna, wala namang makuhang bakuna o hindi ma-schedule.
Pero Senator, sabi nila there's adequate supply naman.
Yes, sir. May oversupply pang araw eh.
Basihan na sabihin na kulang ang bakuna. So, hindi na po yun issue as we speak.
Actually, yung kwenta talaga namin doon sa ginawa namin mga inquiry, yung aming mga pagdinig, sobra talaga eh. Sobra pa nga sa dapat na bakunahan eh, yung 2 doses. Of course, hindi namin nabilang pa yung booster noon. Pero yun nga, ang importante yung access at saka yung availability. Magkaiba yun eh. Available pero accessible ba? Kasi kung mapapadaan ka dyan ang daanan ko papunta sa Senate, siyempre yung Dayong Pilipino. No? Kanina umaga, ang haba ng pila. So, mabuti rin kasi mayroong awareness. Kasi kung ganyang publicize masyado yung hindi pwedeng sumakay, no vax, no ride, yung iba talagang medyo nag-SOS na ang haba ng pila. Actually, nadaanan ko kanina umaga. And everyday, ganyan nangyayari doon.
So is there a problem with accessibility? Is that what you're saying? Because there's no problem anymore with availability.
Availability, walang problema. Pero yung accessibility, kasi hindi naman lahat merong capability na mag-apply online, di ba? Kasi karamihan na application, mag-fill up ka eh. Yung tinatawag na VMS. Tapos alam mo, ang never gumamit ng internet, yung hindi pa nakagamit ng internet sa mga kababayan natin, at least 45%. Kasi ang talagang internet users natin sa bansa natin, nasa mga 52%. So kung walang capability yung iba para mag-apply online, problema yon. Sa kailangan talaga mag-provide yung gobyerno para bukod sa available yung bakuna, kailangan accessible.
Senator, sa mga nakikita nyo ngayon, this pandemic keeps evolving eh. May mga naiisip ba kayo mga bagong measures kung sakasakaling manalo kayo? Na balak yung introduce kasi mukhang tuloy-tuloy pa rin itong pandemyan to all the way to the end of the year. May mga iniisip ba kayong mga measures na gusto nyong i-implement agad-agad?
Basic naman yung, di ba, dapat science-based at saka data-driven. Diyan minsan nagkukulang yung pamahalaan natin. Hindi kasi nagiging proactive kasi nga kulang sa datos at yung siyensya minsan hindi sufficient. Marami naman pwede panggalingan, marami tayong eksperto bukod sa WHO at lahat. So minsan kung babalikan natin yung kung kailan nagsimula sa Wuhan, di ba? alam na nating meron nakapasok dito, bakit hindi pa tayo nag-contact tracing kaagad? So, of course, very tedious yung contact tracing, hindi ganyan kasimple eh. Pero kung nakapag-prepare yung government, national government, siguro mas napigilan.
Yes, sir.
Pa.
Sir, pero sir, moving forward, si Yusek Vergere in our interview with her last week, ang pagkakasabi niya, contact tracing is no longer a major pillar in our COVID response policies. Parang nakaano na eh, parang they, I don't know if discarded is the right word, pero hindi na siya priority.
Or at least
I think
not sa
that's for
NCR.
Omicron.
At least hindi sa
not here.
NCR. But what she said was, in the areas where medyo mababa pa, where it could help and intervene, pwede pa. Pero sa NCR, sa totoo lang, medyo aminado na sila na parang wala nang silbi. Talagang naunahan na tayo ng Omicron.
Pero isang mabisang paraan para ma-contain yung pandemic talaga, contact tracing eh. Hindi mo pwedeng i-disregard eh. Kasi I remember, di ba, nung araw meron pa silang app na na-create yung Stay Safe.
Stay Safe.
And nakapag-register sila, I think mga 20 million eh. Pero merong balita na kung saan lang nagamit na kung saan na-imbak eh, yung mga datos. So, kung kayang, wag natin i-disregard yung contact tracing kasi major component yan eh. I think that's an indispensable pillar, sabihin natin. Ano? Kasi di ba sabi natin, mask, iwas, hugas. No? Yung iwas, yun yung contact tracing eh.
Pero sir, yun
Pero
nga,
sir, pag-usapan ko,
sige, Lucy.
teka, shift topic na. Siyempre, ang pinakamalaking political story today is yung decision ng COMELEC dismissing the petition to cancel the COC of Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Ano pong komento niyo dyan?
Nasa COMELEC yung mandato, no? Mag-agree o hindi mag-agree kung sino man, yun ang rule of law eh. Dahil nag-decide sila, ang decision nila is unfavorable sa mga petitioners or sa petition. So, yun ang dapat natin sundin. Kasi kung hindi naman natin susundin, medyo chaotic. Ano? Kasi iisa lang naman yung panuntunan. Nasa kanilang jurisdiction, nasa kanilang mandato. But we have to respect whatever decision na ginawa nila.
Yes, sir. But you might have an opinion or a position on the matter, regardless of what the decision of COMELEC is. Baka meron kayong posisyon.
Una-una, hindi ako familiar doon sa mga issues na ni-raise. Ano? Kung ano lang nababasa sa dyaryo at saka narinig sa mga balita, hanggang doon lang. But of course, it takes talagang legal analysis. Ano? And I think COMELEC, sila yung merong expertise, sabihin natin legal expertise, kasi sila nag-aral eh, nung kaso. So no matter what decision they make, sa akin, ang attitude ko is always follow, always abide, always respect kung ano yung decision.
Let's take a stab at oversimplifying the issue in that case. Just again, para lang po to continue to prod you for your opinion. Even the most simplest appreciation ng public is that convicted of tax evasion ang isang kandidato with finality. Well, there's no question about it. Convicted, should that person be allowed to run for president?
Well, ang findings ng COMELEC, sinabi nila hindi false yung representation na ginawa. Yun ang issue eh, hindi naman kung convicted or hindi. Kasi another issue yun, kung involving moral turpitude. Pero ang basic yatang issue na niresolve nila, kung false yung in-enter. Ang sabi nila, walang false representation. No? So parang hindi naman side issue, pero parang issue na attendant do sa main issue. Kung mayroon bang false representation do sa pag-file niya ng COC.
Senator, consider ko siya yung front runner. Tuloy-tuloy na siyang front runner, well, according to surveys. Kumusta pa po yung campaign ninyo? Nagre-recalibrate ba kayo ng approach ninyo sa mga voters or sa pagkampanya ninyo?
Well, definitely, ang advice ng campaign team, magkaroon ng adjustments, major adjustments. Kasi it seems na talagang ang domain ni former Senator Marcos, yung social media. Alam naman natin yan, di ba? Kasi nakauno na rin siya sa arena na yan. So, yung campaign team, they're recommending na yun, magawa ng mga adjustments. Yun ang dinidiscuss sa ngayon. But of course, it's a good 3 months from election day at hindi pa nagsisimula talaga yung campaign period. Sa February pa yon.
Yes,
So
sir.
tingnan natin kung ano yung mangyayari, kung ano yung magde-develop in the coming days.
Yes, sir. Sir, pero malapit na yung February 8, But anyway, before we go into that, we just have to pause for a very, very short break. So, sir, please stay with us. Very short lang to. We will be back. Welcome back to Chiefs here on One News. We continue our conversation with Partido Reforma Vice Presidential Candidate Senator. The presidential candidate Senator Ping Lacson. Sir, thank you for joining us and welcome back. Sorry for that mistake. Sir, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can
Yes,
hear
sir. Okay, sir.
loud
Sir,
and clear.
I'll go back to what you mentioned earlier. You were talking about the apparent strength of Bongbong Marcos dun sa social media and the need to undertake some reforms in your strategizing and your campaign. I don't know if you're at liberty to talk about what you have in mind in revising that strategy moving forward. But baka you'd like to talk about that a bit.
Well, una-una, because of the pandemic, forced ka naman, talagang forced to good ka. Wala kang magagawa kundi mag-resort ka sa social media, hindi ba? Kasi walang ground operation. Ang tawag ko nga rito, dogfight eh. Parang air assets, deployment ng air assets ng labanan kasi walang infantry division. Kasi nga walang movement sa ground. So, yun ang perspective ko kasi ang background ko military eh. So, yun, ang pinag-usapan, paano i-recalibrate yung aming, kasi kami, nalulung kami ni Senate President Soto doon sa aming plataforma, no? Very strong yung aming presence doon sa aming mga online kumustahan, na kung saan dinidiscuss namin mga real issues, ano? But it seems, yung sinasabi nga ng campaign team namin, mukhang it hardly, yung mga issues, parang hardly matter in the campaign. Sabi ko, teka muna, anong adjustments gagawin natin? Well, we have to resort to bloggers, tapos more presence sa social media. Ako naman, maski pa paano, may resistance kasi ang nakagawian na namin talaga, seryoso yung problema, dapat seryoso yung solution. Tough yung problema, dapat tough yung solution. So, doon kami ikinakahon namin sarili namin doon, pero it seems na parang baka nga hindi nag-work. So yun, nagre-recalibrate actually yung aming campaign team.
So kung hindi po issues yung nagda-drive dun sa mga voter preferences, ano po sa tingin nyo ang nagda-drive ng mga bakit gusto ng mga tao, well, according to surveys, bakit gusto si Bongbong Marcos? Ano po yung nakikita nyo?
Well, nung kinausap ako ng aking, especially yung aking communication team, na sinabi nilang kailangan sumama tayo doon, makisama tayo kasi yun talaga yung trend, yun ang takbo ng kampanya eh. Ang tanong ko nga sa kanila, bakit? Kailan pa ba naging dreamless, hopeless, and helpless sa mga Pilipino na hindi na iniisip yung malalalang problema, mga seryoso, mga bagay, at nagkakasya na lamang doon sa parang, sabi natin, entertainment, more on the entertainment side. So, sa akin naman, as long as hindi mawala yung authenticity, yung aming, kung ano yung ginagawa namin, okay lang, tingnan natin how far we can make adjustments. But sa akin, meron ako sinasabi sa kanila, lagi may threshold. Huwag natin kalimutan, nang hinaharap ng bansa natin, seryoso, napakalalang problema. So, huwag tayo mag-deviate completely from that narrative.
Kung kaya, Senator, doon po tayo sa mga programa nyo naman, yung mga gusto nyong ihain. What do you think needs to be done sa ekonomiya natin? How fast or how long do you think our economy should grow to get back to, let's say, pre-2019 levels? At ano po yung mga maaari natin gawin para mapabilis yung growth natin?
Unang-una, di ba, dahil sa pandemic, ang laki ng i-recover. Yung utang natin talagang, kanina nabasa ko lamang, di ba, another $3 billion yung in-earmark ng ADB para ipautang na naman sa atin. So, ang unang naisip ko, kasi ang projection is 13.42 trillion, baka masurpass pa natin yon, yung pagbaba sa June 30, yun ang projected na national debt. Ano? So, ang laki ng dagok talaga inabot sa ating economy. Unang-una, wala naman talagang trade-off between health at saka yung economy. At hindi pwede talagang i-disregard one in favor of the other. No? So kailangan talaga may mga stopgap measures na mabilis. Ano? Unang-una, kung walang hanap buhay at yung mga ating mga MSMEs, talagang ito yung pinaka-hardest hit eh. Kasi ito yung napakalaki talaga ng tama. So kailangan merong intervention ang government. Ano? Ang sa akin kasi, laging ang pinagtutuunan ko, yung ating national budget. Kasi kung ganyan ng masama yung economy, tapos meron tayong malaking unused. Ano? Kasi yung tinignan namin yung, alam mo, sa pag-scrutinize ng budget, for the past 10 years, yung 2010 hanggang 2020, ang unused appropriations natin, malaki, 328 billion pesos per year, average. Ha? Tapos bukod pa doon yung misused at saka yung abused. So paano, ang unang approach is kailangan i-work natin na mabalance yung budget. No? A balanced budget can work well with reviving the economy. Kasi kung 5 trillion yung budget natin at ang anticipation natin, saksakan ng laki yung hindi naman magagamit, baka kailangan para hindi tayo talagang mabaon sa utang, ayusin natin yung paggamit ng ating national budget. So yun, doon ako nakatutok lagi kasi yun ang aking exposure, ika nga, sa aking pagiging legislator. Nakikita kong paano nasasayang yung ating pera ng gobyerno sa walang kapararakan at saka mga abuso, sabihin natin abuso ng mga gumagamit.
But in terms of priorities, halimbawa sa allocation ng budget, ano po ang bibigyan nyo ng pinakamalaking halaga? Is it going to be the way it is now? Halimbawa, health. Where will that fall in your list of priorities for the budget?
Sabi ko kanina, walang trade-off between health and economy. No? Yung pasa kami ng Universal Healthcare Act, pasado na to eh. For the past 3 years, hindi pa tayo nakakagraduate sa LENOS. Yan dapat ang ratio. Tapos lahat ng barangays covered na. Pero ang problema, hindi na pondohan ng maayos. Hanggang ngayon, nandun pa tayo sa level ng low cost. Meaning, ano pa ito, hindi lahat mga selected barangays lang yung nako-cover. So, paano itong aangat yung economy kung yung mismong health sector o yung health issues natin, hindi natin na-attendan. Ano? So, nandun. Kasi pagka nasa high cost, dapat ang pinondo, ako lagi kong ipinapasok to sa amendments, dapat nasa mga 257 billion pesos na tayo eh. Yung para sa universal healthcare. No? Pero ngayon, andyan pa rin tayo sa mga 157 I think, or basta nasa low cost pa rin tayo. So una yon. Pangalawa, yung sa economy, alam mo, pagka hindi makakilos ang pribadong sektor, ang business sector, walang choice ang government kung hindi sila muna yung gumastos. Kaya nga nagkaroon tayo ng Bayanihan 1, Bayanihan 2, yung mga ayuda para umikot yung ating economy. Ang problema, kung delayed, hindi naman talaga nakakarating doon sa dapat puntahan. No? Nung mga ayuda at marami pang issues na lumalabas na misuse, lalo yung nag-imbestiga kami sa PhilHealth, di ba? Magkano na yon? Parang ito, I think 2019 pre-pandemic, 14 billion yung natuklasan namin. At mabuti na rin, nasa ombudsman na yung kaso because si Secretary Guevara nag-coordinate sa Senate. Binigyan namin sa kanila lahat yung mga nakuha naming mga testimonial evidence, pati yung mga documentary evidence.
Senator, in fact, ang simula nung pulis ka hanggang maging senator ka, ang image mo, yung priority mo is anti-corruption eh. Bala ka bang i-focus yung messaging mo in your campaign dyan sa corruption issue? And do you think it will matter to the voters at this point na nakikita nyo sa resulta ng mga survey?
Tama yun. Ako, very strong talaga ako sa anti-corruption advocacy, ever since GPNP hanggang sa nag-senador. Ako, nakikita ko kasi, pag nasolve natin yung issue ng corruption among government officials, I think at least 50% ng problema ng bansa masosolve kasi dikit-dikit eh. Bakit ba tayo bakit nawala yung respeto o yung tiwala ng mga mamamayan sa gobyerno? Because of corruption. Kasi nagiging corrupt na rin yung kasi hawa-hawa eh. Pag wala napaparusahan. So ako kaya yung sa isang interview noon ay sabi ko on the first day, not in the first 100 days. I think this was sa AmCham yata nung nag-appear ako. Because I will lead the way by signing a waiver of my rights under the Bank Secrecy Act. Yan ang unang official act na gagawin para lang maipakita and encourage all cabinet members and even bureau directors down the line, basta sa executive department, to do the same. So yan yung mga dapat pangunahan kasi wala tayong papupuntahan pagka yung ang issue ng corruption hindi natin na-address properly.
Senator, earlier you made the point na habang bumabagal ang ekonomiya, public spending of course has to ramp up. But given also na, hindsight is always 2020, but at the same time, we do want to have your sense of assessment of how this current administration for public spending as a given. But what about yung mga utang natin? Was that unavoidable or inevitable, yung laki ng inutang natin?
Inevitable kasi walang revenues because of the pandemic. I just hope na yung Bureau of Internal Revenue saka yung Bureau of Customs makalikom ng additional revenues. But given the situation, paano yung kaya ang dapat kapantay nito, meron tayong tinatawag na judicious spending kasi dalawa yan dalawa tama sa atin yung revenue side at saka expenditure side. Kapag hindi natin nakuha yung tamang koleksyon, tapos yung spending mo medyo defective pa, talagang doble yung tama sa atin. So isa sa mga programang matagal na namin sinabi ito, digitalization ng government processes. Na sa ganon, yung human intervention talagang ma-minimize, especially sa collection ng taxes at saka doon sa Bureau of Customs. So digitalization plus yung automation ng ating mga collecting agencies. Kasi nagpasa na tayo ng CMTA, yung Customs Modernization Tariff Act, pero computerized, hindi naman nag-automate. Kasi matagal ko na rin tuwing mag-committee hearing kami pag-budget, ito yung tinatanong ko lagi sa Bureau of Customs, kailan ba kayo mag-fully automate? And that's the reason why yung export record ng ibang bansa like China, US, Japan, South Korea, halos kalahati lang yung nare-record naman na in-import namin from those countries or natin. So bakit? Ibig sabihin, mayroong corruption because of under-declaration, misdeclaration, or smuggling. So ganon. Kung uutang tayo, dapat i-translate natin yung inutang natin sa public services, infrastructure, social services. Hindi yung uutang tayo tapos hindi naman tama yung spending na gagawin natin.
Pero sir, kasi in some of the previous examples we've seen of digitalization, nagiging controversial yun. For example, yung PhilHealth computerization program was controversial kasi ang mamahal ng computers na binili at may mga question na baka overpriced. So in the effort sometimes to modernize and safeguard against corruption, nagiging venue pa for corruption.
Tandaan, ako rin na nag-expose doon yung papasok sa computerization pagkatapos overpriced masyado yung mga equipment, ano, yung mga binili nila. So again, balik na naman tayo, talaga ang basic issue is corruption. So kailangan talaga yung accountability. Yun ang nawala sa atin yung accountability kasi over time parang nakasanayan na natin, parang kibit-balikot na lang tayo. Parang iniidolo pa nga natin pagka yung isang public official, masyado yumaman sa na questionable naman yung pinanggalingan. Ano? Para nawala na yung galit. Yun ang masakit pagka tinatawanan na lang natin yung mga excesses na ginagawa ng mga government officials. Sa akin, masamang indication yun. Hanggang nagagalit yung mga tao, okay pa yon.
Sir, are you referring to anybody in particular?
Wala. Hindi naman. Generally speaking, kasi ganyan naman ang nakikita naman natin day to day, di ba? Na yung mga nag-insert ng pagkalalaki, say 10 billion, paano mo namang gagamitin sa isang distrito yung 10 billion pesos sa mga proyekto? Pagkatapos makakausap ka ng mga contractors na alam naman natin na meron 20%. So kung wala namang accountability sa ganon, mamimihasa siyempre.
Yes, sir.
So sir, ihabol ko lang. Sabi nyo, yung mga botante ngayon, parang hindi na issue ang pinag-iisipan, no? Pero yung corruption has always been a major issue and a major part of the platform of presidential candidates, no? What do you think of how voters feel about that issue right now? Sama ba yan sa mga issue na sa tingin nyo ay hindi na masyadong pinapansin ngayon?
Malungkot hindi pinapansin. Kaya nga parang sineset aside na lang. So kailangan talaga palitan natin yung mindset And yung mindset, manggagaling yan sa gobyerno Hindi pwede magsimula yan sa mga kababayan, sa society at large, for that matter. Kasi tatandaan ko nung PNP ako, tinanong ako ng media sa Krami, ano ba nakikita niyong problema sa PNP General? Ang una sagot ko, PNP Ganon din tayo The biggest problem that our country has is government, bad government. Ang solusyon, andyan din, naka-stare sa atin, nandyan din sa problema. Ang solusyon is government din. Kasi bakit? Government naman lahat yung gobyerno nagpapatupad ng batas, gobyerno nagbabalangkas ng batas, nag-i-interpret ng batas. Pagka nakita naman ng pangkaraniwang Pilipino na yung gobyerno hindi naglilid ng way, I don't know, yan ang aking pananaw Gobyerno talaga yung problema, gobyerno yung solusyon.
Okay, Presidential Candidate of Partido Reforma, Senator Ping Lacson. Sir, maraming salamat for joining us tonight at ingat po parati.
Thank you, sir.
Kayo rin. Stay safe lagi.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we still have COVID as our topic for tonight. We'll be bringing in Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergara in a few minutes. Pero the numbers are noticeably staying within a band of 37,000 thereabouts of new day.
From Monday ngayon, Ed,
Tuesday, Wednesday pa yung yung usual slow day.
But it was parang but they're very careful not to declare a trend at this point. Although Okta is also pointing out numbers in NCR.
Yeah,
na
negative tayo.
Yung growth rate sa NCR nagne-negative.
Yan ang magandang negative.
Baka nga daw because of lack of testing, meaning RT-PCR testing. Na in-acknowledge din ng DOH, di ba? Baka masyado ng maraming taong nag-antigen na hindi naman nare-record. Yan ang problema.
Okay.
Kaya impossible, di ba? So many. So, yung actual numbers will be many, many times greater than the actual na nare-report.
Yeah, let's bring in our guest na. Joining us tonight, Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergara of the DOH. Ma'am, thank you again for joining us and welcome back to the Chiefs.
Good evening, ma'am.
Magandang gabi po.
Magandang gabi po.
Yes,
Good evening po.
Good evening po. Ma'am, numbers today, 37,070. We've been noticing the movement. Medyo nagka-fluctuate ng konti pero it's staying within the band And then Octa says na nag-1 na yung growth rate sa Metro Manila. We're all trying to divine some sort of meaning and hope from the numbers, but we don't know if we should. Is it a downtrend, a plateauing, or is still too early pa rin? Ano po?
Well, for us, sir, it's too early, no? For us to conclude that it's really going down and we have reached the peak. Kasi hanggang sa ngayon, malaki pa rin po ang numero natin. Bagamat lumiliit, nakikita naman po natin, pero yung ating average daily cases po kasi, if you try to look at the trend, it's still huge, no? And yung growth rate po natin mataas pa rin po sa lahat ng areas, not just in NCR. Our case doubling time has slowed down. And we have been saying that for the past week na dati po, nag-umpisa tayo with this Omicron situation. We started off with about 2 days na doubling time.
Opo.
Ibig sabihin, doble ang kaso pag ganun. Pero ngayon po, humaba na po nationally, it's 4 days, and for NCR, it's 3.4 days. So, bumabagal siya, but the numbers are still huge. So, kaya very cautious pa rin po kami para magdeklara tayo na we have reached the peak and we are going to decline already. We need to monitor closely. And ang gusto lang namin sabihin lagi, it's not just one single indicator that we use when we try to gauge kung ano na po ang nangyayari. We use all of our parameters so that we can assess the situation better. So it's not just really the case numbers. We have to look at our healthcare system capacity. We have to look at our positivity rate, which is really more than 50% still in NCR.
Ma'am, given those the case numbers and positivity rate and well appreciated naman po na lahat tinitingnan natin. Pero those numbers are in fact still very, very important. It's very key. Kumusta po yung capacity natin for testing? Because we've spoken to a number of data scientists and researchers, and their concern also is baka mautog na tayo sa taas at saka sa pagbilis ng pagtaas, baka eventually mautog na tayo doon sa actual limits ng testing capacity natin. Where are we now?
Yes, sir. No? So actually, ang capacity naman po ng ating mga laboratorio, among all the laboratories in the country, we have a capacity of almost 90,000. When we had the Delta situation, we were averaging about 90,000 tests, 89,000 tests per day during that time. Ngayon po, ang average natin, 80,000. Nag-average tayo na 80,500 plus per day sa ngayon. And ang atin po kasing challenge ngayon really was the steep rise in the number of cases. A lot of people were getting sick. A lot of people were panicking. They were blocking the laboratories. Kaya nagpalabas po ang Department of Health ng ating policy shift. No? It's a policy direction wherein we need to prioritize also at this stage in our pandemic. I-prioritize natin yung mga vulnerable natin para ma-test natin because some of them are having a hard time also accessing the laboratories when in fact they are the ones really needing this most. Kaya tayo, ngayon, we have allowed the antigen use for those with symptoms. And also, ang nakikita natin ngayon din kasi hindi naman nakakasama sa figures, yung mga taong nag-isolate na lang, hindi na ho nagpapatest. So ito po yung mga factors na kailangan lahat nakokonsidera bago natin makonclude that we have really reached the peak and it's starting to decline.
Yusek, pero sabi ninyo, you are not recording the result of the antigen. And, well, everyone is saying na it could skew the monitoring of actual number of cases. May balak po ba kayo? Kasi nakikita namin it's really prevalent. People are using antigen sa bahay. Nakakabili sila online. May balak ba kayo to try to monitor man lang yung use o kaya kung sino man yung nagpa-positive through antigen?
Yes, ma'am, may balak naman po. Ang tagal na pong balak. Actually, we've already instructed our epidemiology and surveillance units since the start of the Delta situation. Kasi nag-active case finding tayo noon, pinagamit natin ang antigen test, nagbigay din tayo ng mga supplies. Unfortunately, local government still, hindi po nila nakukuha yung buong picture din sa kanilang mga lugar. Lalong-lalo na ngayon, rampant talaga ang paggamit ng antigen test sa bahay, hindi po na ire-report. So what we are doing right now, we are exploring that possibility. Meron ho kasi kami nitong Kira chat box kung saan ang community can just type in their questions and they can be answered right away. It's a 24/7 question and answer na pwede namin gawin. Ngayon, yan po ang ine-explore natin na baka pwedeng i-key in ng ating mga citizens yung paggamit nila ng antigen at least we can get the sense no kung ilan po yung mga numero na gumagamit nitong antigen. Right now we have collated all of the reports no for antigen. Nakakuha ho kami ng 1.1 million use. Pero ito ay mula pa nung isang taon na mga paggamit nila no. And actually, nung tinignan namin at inanalyze, only 30% were valid. No? It was used for screening, it was used for borders, and that is not the way to use the antigen test.
How about
Okay,
yung
ma'am,
sa supply side? Halimbawa, yung mag-coordinate with DTI kung sino yung nagbebenta, kanino binebenta, meron bang ganun? Pwede ba yun? Is that visible?
Meron naman ho tayong monitoring for that, no? Department of Trade and Industry and even the Food and Drug Administration. Meron ho tayong mga monitoring na ganito. We can be able to monitor all of these suppliers and retailers. Kaya lang yung actual na gamit doon sa ating mga kabahayan, kailangan po ng tulong ng local governments talaga.
Ma'am, paano po ba natin susukatin ang maaaring tunay na numbers, no? Because we were interviewing Okta also last week, and they were extrapolating lang that it's very possible that the numbers that we're seeing now in daily case could be 3 times more, even 10 times more. Meron po ba kayong sarili ninyong model by which to, well, estimate kung ano po kaya ang mas real numbers?
Yes, ma'am. No? So we have these projections na ginagawa po ng ating mga eksperto from the FASTER team. Sila po, ito pong ating model na ginagamit. We call it the SEIR na model. Kung saan nakapaglabas na po tayo ng projections. At sinabi nga sa projections with the assumptions, no? With the current Omicron situation that it can infect about 4 to 5 times highly transmissible siya, yung ating level of vaccination, yun pong ating adherence to minimum public health standards, and of course, mobility of the population. Nilagay ho lahat yan dun sa modelo na yan at ang ating projections nga, maaari na baka sa end pa ng January mag-peak or even by the second week of February, depending on the scenarios. And the cases right now, active cases, might be double. Dun po sa time na mag-peak tayo. So yan po yung projection. But gusto ko lang laging ipinapaalala sa ating mga kababayan, ang projections po, depende yan sa assumption. So hindi po yan cast in stone. Mababago po yan kung sakasakaling syempre ma-regulate natin lalo ang mobility, makapag-adhere lalo sa minimum public health standards, maitaas pa natin ang ating pagbabakuna. So all of this would depend on the different interventions that we are doing right now.
I'll go back to the question of antigen testing. You mentioned kanina a chat box put up by the DOH that might be used for monitoring antigen testing. Pero when you say that, you're referring to voluntary reporting of antigen use at home? Ganun ho ba?
Yes, because we have this template that we had been requiring local governments to submit their reports for antigen test use since, as I've said, Delta experience pa. Pero ngayon, nakikita natin sa bahay na ginagawa, hindi na guided ng local governments. So we are hoping that with this kind of mechanism, we'll be able to get a sense, just a sense at least, kung ilan po talaga yung gumagamit sa bahay. Lalong-lalo na ngayon na ang dami na nag-apply ng home-administered test kits na antigen. Iyan po kailangan talaga ma-monitor natin para makita po natin kung ilan naman yung nami-miss out natin into these reported cases natin.
Pero ma'am, that would be affected by the proper or improper use of the test kits. I mean, kung hindi mo rin manundot yung tao, alanganin din yung numbers.
That's right, sir. Kaya nga po kami, pag lumabas na po itong ating certification coming from FDA for these home-administered test kits, nakapag-prepare na ho kami ng instructional materials para sa ating mga citizens sa bahay kasi baka magkaroon ng misuse, you'll get false results din kasi pag mali ang collection mo ng specimen. So meron na ho tayo na prepare ng ganyan, pero sa tingin po ng Department of Health, kailangan natin yan ngayon, yung home-administered self-test kits for those with symptoms. At least they will have their test. At least we can still count the number of cases.
So are you saying that's just for now because of the qualities of Omicron, no? Yung grabe talaga yung transmissibility. Tapos ganun din yung naging policy nyo. Actually, ang dami yung minodify, no? Yung protocols na modify, yung contact tracing had to take a back seat in terms of what to prioritize. And now you're allowing na DIY testing, no? But is that just for now? And that could change moving into the future. I hope it doesn't happen, but assuming that this COVID continues.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, everything is evolving. No? So pag gumagawa pa kami ng policy, lagi namin sinasabi, may konteksto tayo. Katulad ng mga policy shift natin sa ngayon, nilagay mo po namin at pinaalala and we have emphasized na this is in the context of the Omicron situation right now.
Okay, so
Kung
this is just for now.
yes, but science doesn't change. So yung antigen test natin na dati pa hong nasa polisiya namin, ganun pa rin ang gamit. Sa may symptoms pa rin. Hindi ho yan nababago.
Ma'am, doon po sa, yung speaking of new policies, yung pong adjustment sa policy now allowing Filipinos to come back even if they're coming from red list countries, saan po nang gagaling yung confidence ba?
Sir, unang-una, no? Ang atin pong pinag-usapan and even experts are saying that we are banning our Filipinos from coming home here when in fact, yung atin pong sitwasyon ngayon dito with a very high transmission rate, baka mas mataas pa dun sa high-risk country na yon. So that was the basis for that. And ang ating safeguard po dyan, inalaw natin silang umuwi. Pero may protocol ka, pinaka-strict na protocol ang meron sa'yo. Kasi yun pong ating quarantine period for them is the longest one among the different countries. At saka kailangan din po natin maintindihan, dati may bayanihan flight. Sinaalaw naman natin sila basta through a bayanihan flight. Nawala lang yung bayanihan flight. We are now allowing them kung kailan nila gusto umuwi, pero subject kayo sa compliance dyan sa ating red-listed countries.
Yusek, nabanggit niyo yung symptoms. Sa dami ng cases ngayon and we are attributing most of them to Omicron. Meron na bang nagiging solid na ba yung indications? Can you tell us kung how can we tell kung flu to o ordinary cold? Mas may ebidensya na ba na madaling masabi, oy, may Omicron infection ka or flu lang yan or cold lang? Sa dami ng cases ngayon.
Well, clinically, and as a doctor, it's really hard, to differentiate between the regular flu and the COVID-19 symptoms that we have right now. Kasi very similar po sila. Kaya nga ang advice natin sa mga tao, kapag kayo ay nakararanas na ng ganyan, isolate ka na. Whether it be the flu or COVID, at least you have protected your family. Kailangan po natin maisip, maintindihan din also, we can never be sure and certain na Omicron yan, Delta yan, ganyan. Kailangan mo ng whole genome sequencing. Ngayon lang, pinapakita talaga ng trend at saka base sa latest natin na genome results nung January 12, I think, or 15, 97% na po nung na-detect natin na Omicron. So nakikita na natin talaga yung transmission dito sa ating bansa, specifically in NCR.
Pero malakas ba yung ebidensya na milder na siya if it's Omicron, if you are vaccinated?
Based from our experience, observation, and analysis, among all of those who are having symptoms right now or having the disease right now, milder po talaga compared to Delta. Pero kapag tinamaan nga po, ang lagi namin sinasabi, pag tinamaan ng vulnerable at saka yung mga hindi bakunado, hindi natin masasabi kung mild pa rin yan. Kaya dapat pabakuna na po tayo lahat.
Ma'am, pahabo lang before we let you go. Doon sa antigen testing po, is there a significant difference in reliability between yung saliva antigen test versus yung swab antigen test?
Well, based on science and evidence, the saliva specimen that is used, especially for antigen test, has the lowest efficacy, yung sensitivity. So siya po yung least reliable kapag gano'n. Kaya our experts do not recommend yung saliva testing with antigen sa mga bahay.
Oh, okay. Okay. We should keep that in mind.
Yung kasi binili mo, no?
I refuse to incriminate myself.
You need a nasal swab.
Maraming salamat po, Undersecretary Maria Rosario Herrera. Thank you for joining us. Ingat po.
Thank you, Yusek.
Maraming salamat po.
That will be all for this edition of the Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. Before we go, reminder to our viewers, mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Ed Lingao.
I'm Mami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
I'm Lucy Cruz Valdez of News 5.
I'm Robbie Alampay, and we are One News.